All right.
We're going in.
Okay.
We're streaming. We're streaming. Who is this little nugget? You have two little nuggets there.
Well, these are my little ones. My big one is the one who passed away about a week and a half ago. These two guys belong to my friend. And when she was dying, she asked me if I would take them.
Oh, so they're Chihuahuas?
They're Chihuahuas, and they're in a class by themselves.
They are. Well, hey, I think we're live. So welcome to a day of light and love. And this is an event that we live stream, and we've been live streaming every other hour since late Christmas Eve. And we will continue until, I don't know, almost midnight tonight. And I am just absolutely thrilled to be collaborating with the voices of the women leaders that we have heard throughout the last 24 hours. Just women that have just, they brought not only their voice, they brought their wisdom, and they brought it freely to share. That is the beauty of it, because this is Christmas Day in most parts of the world, or Boxing Day, and you know, there are lots of things that people could be doing rather than freely sharing their time, especially women of this caliber. And I'm honored to have someone who I got to meet. She was introduced to me by a mentor that I highly esteem. And she was Linda Heller, I'm going to introduce you. She was highly esteemed by her and put in, this is interesting, she was edified as an elder. And an elder is truly, that is a old school term, you know. I think sometimes young people think an elder is somebody who just got old, but that would be an older that would be an older person, right? And an elder is traditionally someone in a community, in a tribe, in a group, who has acquired a very high level of wisdom. And so there's probably some years attached to that. But more than that, there is wisdom and discernment. They are wisdom in action, which is my definition of discernment. And so I want you to meet Linda Heller. Linda Heller, I'm going to let you tell a little bit about you and what you do. But I am honored, really honored that we're going to share this little bit of time together and have a conversation that we kind of think we know where it's going to go, but who the heck knows where it's going to go? I'm excited for that.
I know, me too. I am, I feel like it's a mutual admiration society. I am so honored and delighted to be here. And for those of you who have never met me or heard me, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher all of my adult life in one form or another. And professionally through the years, I was involved in the field of special education. So I taught children, I worked with parents, I worked with administrators. I've been in the classroom, I've helped plan programs, I've done all those kinds of things. I worked with I created programs for people who were out of school, who had disabilities, to support them to be independent. Then I decided I left all that behind, and I experienced the process of divorce, and I became an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So I had a business, I had partners, I did different things, and then after a while, I thought, what I really love to do is teach. So I went back to school and I began teaching again. And now I coach teachers. So that's kind of my primary professional income generating thing. And then I also coach students online, because my three passions are teaching. Well, actually, it's four: teaching, breath work, conscious breath work, mastery of personal language, and transcendental rebirthing sacred principles. And so they are.
Can we pause there? Can we just pause there? Okay. Let's define each one of those. The first one was teaching. The second one was breath work. The
Yes.
third, I knew the last one was transcendental rebirthing, but what was the third one?
The mastery of personal language.
Mastery of personal language. Mm. Can you just kind of define each one of those for?
Oh, wow. Okay. Conscious breathing is something that most people are familiar with it through yoga, for example. But it is also a whole field of coaches and practitioners who bring to breathing, which is an automatic process, consciousness, which then changes the game. So now you're taking something that's automatic and you're actually making it conscious. You control the pace, you control the intensity, and you use it both as a form of meditation, as a form of healing, as a form of energy work, and literally as a form of transformation. I have had or been blessed to have literally transcendent experiences doing conscious breathing.
Wow.
And it can push your boundaries. It can also provide something as ordinary as incredibly deep relaxation or relief from pain. The mastery of personal language I was introduced to via Yvonne de la Flor and Transcendental Rebirthing and the work of a man named Chick Mormon. And he wrote a book called Talk Sense to Yourself. And I read the book in one afternoon and it changed my life.
Wow.
And I used to think I knew a lot about language. I had a big vocabulary. I was expressive. I was a good writer. And when I read that book, I realized I knew nothing about language.
Wow.
And I learned the power of the tiniest daily words to change my whole experience of my life. So I've been on that journey for 11 years maybe, and I still feel like I'm just learning.
Wow.
And then, of course, Transcendental Rebirthing, which is a method created by Yvonne de la Flor. It has technique, it has transcendence, and it also has as a foundation what she calls the sacred principles. And they were another thing that literally changed my life. So as a person who participated in that training program, you not only learn the principles, the goal is to embody them. So principles such as no excuses, discernment, no rescue, I statements, owning, what you say and what you feel, creating personal safety for yourself and for those around you. So those three fields of study that have many practitioners, for me, kind of came together to create a new foundation for myself. And it literally transformed my relationship with my life, changed everything. And I feel happier. I feel joyous. I feel that I am the architect of my life. Life doesn't happen to me. I engage in life.
That's powerful.
And it's filled with opportunity all the time.
That is powerful.
So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That's you in a nutshell. That's quite a nutshell.
It is.
That's amazing. Wow. So you're in California?
I am. I'm a little bit north of Santa Barbara in a county that's famous for avocados, wine, and beautiful coastlines.
You spend a lot. I'm sorry, what was that?
And it's raining today.
Oh, it's raining today. Do you spend a lot of time outside then?
In my garden.
In your garden?
Yes.
So you're a gardener?
I am.
And that means You garden flowers or you garden produce?
I've done it all over time, but currently I garden flowers,
Flowers.
flowers, all
And
different kinds of flowers.
now do they, because of the climate, it isn't like I'm in the Chicago area, so
Well,
you
you
know,
can grow things I can't grow,
oh,
like different kinds of bulbs and things like peonies
oh, I love
and
peonies.
rhododendrons.
Mm,
And I can grow things you can't grow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yours don't really go away, right? You can,
Right.
they
Even
just
though,
flourish. Like
yeah.
we have a lot of seasonal, very little of anything here stays.
Most,
Evergreen trees and evergreen
yeah,
bushes, evergreen, but yeah.
I have those, but like it's December and my lemon tree and lime tree are filled with fruit.
Oh, lemon and lime tree.
Yeah. Those are the only things. Oh, and a persimmon tree. I have a persimmon
Do you
tree.
have a persimmon tree?
I do. I'm so excited. It's
Persimmon.
only
I've never eaten a persimmon.
oh,
I only know the color.
I had never eaten one either until several years ago. Somebody in my drumming group brought them. And when they sliced it and put it on a spinach salad, the color was so incredible. It was almost psychedelic.
Wow.
And there's two kinds. There's the kind that have little pointy tops,
Mm-hmm.
and they use those to make things like persimmon pudding. So when they're,
Persimmon pudding.
oh yeah. And so when they're fully ripe, they're sweet, almost like a dessert kind of.
Wow.
And then the other ones are round and they have a little flat top, and you eat them while they're hard. They're like an apple.
Really
Yeah. So you can eat them either hard or you can let them get kind of soft.
interesting. But you mentioned
They're fun.
drumming.
Yes.
Now, would that go along with your breath work, or is that something completely outside of your
Well, you can use it.
categories?
You can use it in drumming. It's what they call shamanic drumming. So the drums are one-headed. So there's only skin on one side.
Mm-hmm.
And so over the years, we've been together 30 years maybe.
Wow.
As a group of friends. And so the drumming, I can't think how to describe it, but it's kind of it's a very steady, measured kind of beat.
Yeah.
But the idea is that it duplicates your heart.
Yes.
So you can either, we take turns. We have done it where one person drums and everyone else lays down and creates an intention, and then they just let the drum carry them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And sometimes they see power animals. Sometimes you see resolution to whatever your intention is. Sometimes you go to an altered state. And then we also drum. And then the drums actually, no matter what our intention is, they tend to synchronize themselves as if they're a part of a web that's all connected. So some people may start fast and faster and slow, but sooner or later, they all just like pulse as one drum. And we'll drum for, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes at a time. And we have a circle, we put intentions in the circle, we put prayers for other people in the circle. And then as we drum, we consciously send those prayers into the universe. And the idea is they go out and they come back.
Oh.
The universe receives them in essence and returns them to you.
Wow.
So we get together at least once a month.
You mentioned the word connection.
Yes.
Just now. And it's kind of interesting that the drumming led to the topic, really.
It did, didn't it?
We meandered our way here, but we got here, didn't we? Because you said the word connection. We're talking about being, connection and disconnection, during the holidays, which was really it was sort of the impetus for the whole creation of the event, was recalling, a time when I was in a time of I don't even know if it was disconnection, but I guess it was, but I was becoming reconnected. But
Yes.
you're in that period of it, you have to allow, but it still isn't easy at
No.
the holidays, because the
I don't
holidays
know
are like little.
why. They magnify and intensify everything. You know, Thanksgiving, I always think of family, not so much gifts or abundance, but family.
Mhm.
And then at Christmas, it's like because it's so commercialized, so you're bombarded and inundated with these visions of bright lights and happy people, and everyone's got packages and presents, and they're all
Yeah.
home and they give them to everybody. And I have memories of those times. And I also remember as an adult, my daughter must have been, I was after my divorce. I hadn't yet found my feet, so to speak. And I can remember walking down Santa Barbara's main street, which was beautiful, and the shops are all decorated. It's lovely landscaping.
Hmm.
Looking in these windows and realizing I had no resources to buy anything in the windows. It was as if Christmas was there for everyone, but it wasn't there for me. So that experience of the notness of it, if you would. And so that year, my daughter and I walked on the beach and found things and made mobiles out of things on the, we created our own Christmas. But I still remember that feeling of I must be a failure
Mm.
because I couldn't participate the way it was supposed to look.
Yes.
Supposed to.
Yes.
So when you shared what you had created here, I was so excited that a person whose life was already so full would focus their energy and their resources and their talents to build an awareness and a connection so that people who have all those things, people who have family and joyous times and abundance and trees and the laughter and everything, that they can perhaps take a moment and have compassion for the people who do not. And they either don't have it literally or they don't feel it.
Oh yeah. And that's two different things.
It is.
That
And
is
I
two
think,
different things.
yeah,
Yeah, I think myself even they talk about the sugar blues. Well, I always expected, even as a kid, the holiday blues. It always came as like a reverb on Christmas afternoon. There was such a build up, right? There was such a build up and so much magic and so much anticipation. And then Christmas morning is over.
now what?
Yeah, because let's say you got some of what you wanted. Like there's always like the expectation of something, right? There's still that creative moment of what's going to be filled in there, right? And yeah, and I definitely had Christmases that probably were a little disappointing. And when I look back on it, I think, was I a brat or something? But because you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
it was an honest feeling. It was an honest feeling, and I didn't really share it because I
right.
recognized it would be hurtful. So I didn't share it, but I for a really, 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 really long time as a kid, many years, I would have that reverb. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And I was given, and I had, other brothers and
Sure.
sisters, and there was a lot of, but I don't know. It was just I maybe it was a part of the melancholy or part of the I don't know. There was just a feeling like the
Yeah.
magic. So the magic, it's almost like, so the magic has evaporated now for another
Yes.
year. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Like
totally.
like I love magic. Like I love
Yeah.
magic. So I think for me, being a mom, um, creating magic for my kids
Mhm.
at the holidays was fantastic to do. And then of course they hit an age where it is more difficult to create magic
Yes.
because there's no symbol like Santa Claus of the giving and the, he just represents magic. I love Santa Claus, by the way.
Oh, I did too. And do you know, even as an adult, every year under the tree, the biggest and best present always came from Santa
I
Claus.
love that.
My mom and dad did that even when they knew I didn't believe it anymore.
See, I love that. I totally love that. I married Santa Claus. No, I did. I'm actually Mrs. Claus. Oh no, I married Santa
Oh,
Claus.
how
Yeah,
fabulous.
my husband, uh, I never was attracted to anybody with long hair. And my husband had long hair and he was growing it long and he was growing a beard, but he wanted to be a real life Santa Claus. And
How fun.
yeah, he never maximized that because he decided to become an entrepreneur and that didn't go with
The
that.
two
Are you with
things
me?
didn't go together. I am.
No, but the spirit of Santa Claus totally lives in
Oh,
him. And, I'm definitely, yeah, I have it. It's really wonderful though. I,
what a
I,
great.
I love
I
it.
have never met your husband, but to
Oh,
say that the spirit of Santa Claus lives in him,
oh
I
yes.
can feel your husband.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And Santa Claus isn't looking for accolades.
Right.
What does he do? He kind of, well, he's supposed to slip down the chimney, but you
He
might see a
gives,
sighting. You might see a sighting, the shadow against the moon with the sleigh. But it's about giving and the magic of, oh, what was, he knows he's creating that magic of what was wrong. Then he has that. Yeah, for sure.
of making dreams come true.
Yes.
That's what Santa Claus does.
That's what he does. And I love it. So I believe, I believe in the spirit of Santa Claus, which is completely
Absolutely.
off our topic.
It is.
It is, but it's a good topic.
It is a
But
good topic.
but honestly, as a kid, I think for me, um, life felt very cookie cutter. And so Christmas, was like, and I think maybe your birthday could be like that too, where I don't know, the discipline, I don't know, but there was something there. And so I always worked to try to keep Christmas going. And then there was my year that I wasn't going to have my kids, at Christmas.
Yes.
The tradition was interrupted, and for several years actually. It takes a while to get back into tradition isn't a one-time event. Tradition
No.
built through consistent
Well, it's
duplication.
built through consistent application of
Yes,
whatever actions or events that you
yes,
create. But that feeling of when your child isn't with you at Christmas,
yes,
I remember that for me too. And I know I coach some teachers who are having that experience of being involved in bitter divorce
mm,
and the children aren't with them.
yes,
And that feeling of such incredible sadness,
yes,
and almost like a violation of what should be the natural order of
yeah.
things.
There's a separation. Yeah, it is. It's
So perhaps, I was thinking, so what is a gift that we could give people who feel that disconnection, who feel the holiday is so big, it intensifies everything. And so when you don't feel the abundance to participate, when your children aren't with you, and so it doesn't feel like Christmas, So what is possible? What action? What thought could people claim for themselves?
For me, I would say what I did, and this is what I did. I didn't really realize it till you asked this question. But what I did was I decided what I wanted Christmas to be like. I did. I decided. I knew that, okay, this was this year. I mean, now that's on the other side of the melancholy, on
Mhm.
the other side of the depressing moments. But when you know, the shadow, you experience it, and then the light said, but what do you want? You know, how do you want it to be? And I think I've been chasing that vision. Seriously. No, I mean, no, I've been chasing that vision for what, 30 years now? For almost 40 years. And I've actualized that vision many, 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 many times over, not just at Christmas. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Anytime that I can establish a tradition with my kids and my grandkids, you know, I'll run it into the ground. That sounds really funny, but it's true. I'll, you know, and you tweak it along the way. You find the things and you listen. You have to hear, you know, what people like and don't like. But I will tell you that traditions require intention and
Yeah.
consistency. And I would not trade any part of what I have today for the tradition that I was mourning
Yes.
back in 1985.
Well, what you're sharing with me is you basically became the architect of a new tradition.
Yes.
It isn't that you reject the old one
No.
so much as you move to choose another one,
Yes.
to reframe it and grow it. And when
And
you,
you can glean.
yes,
You didn't have
what
to
is worth keeping and
you
move
glean what's worth keeping, but you have to do it because Christmas Day was always, and now it's interesting because Christmas Eve is a tradition. So you also have to be willing to, you know, even like yesterday, because yesterday was it yesterday that was Christmas Eve.
on. It was, I think it was yesterday.
Okay. But I have adult granddaughters. I have twin granddaughters who are almost 22 now.
Oh my God.
And oh yeah, they're so beautiful. They're so wonderful. And they, you know, one of them is in a committed relationship. And last year, he went to his family and she came to us on Christmas Eve because it was like conflicting. So I said to her, well, what do we have to do for RJ to be with us and you to be go there? And she said, well, you know, there's this in the morning and then his family does this at this. I said, well, what if I worked it out that we started like in early afternoon? You know, so you have to be flexible. So that's
Yes.
what we did. And so everybody was here and they stayed almost the whole time and then they
Oh,
left to go. And do you know what I'm saying? Like
yes.
after all these years, and I could have gotten very like, well, that's our tradition, you know?
Right.
We
Always do it at this time of this week.
exactly, but that's not you. So for many, many, many years it was, you know, hey, we don't gather till like 4 and we don't eat till 5, right? But no, this year we gathered at 1 and we ate at 2. And it was fantastic because I think part of I think all right, one of the secrets to happiness is to stop making it about you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as soon as you turn, and I think that's what I did that. I did that though. I said, okay, I'm feeling this way, but Blake and Adam, they need they need a new
They need something else.
they need a new we have to transition to something else. And so I put my attention on them and that made it easier. And so if someone has children, or grandchildren, it probably is easier. If you're not, if you're alone, you don't have children, yeah, then I could see where that would be, but you have to find your why. Like, it's the start with why concept that's Simon Sinek, I believe it is, talks about start with why. No, it is. It's like
Well,
you
you
have to.
were solution oriented. You didn't say, oh, this is a problem. You ask her the question, not, well, this isn't working. You said, what do we need to do to make it work?
Oh, well, I whimpered before that.
But in the end, you still got there.
In the end, but isn't that generally, isn't that what the dark night of the soul is supposed to do? It's supposed to take us from a place where we feel really, really bad for our situation. And then there's something inside of us. There's something in the human spirit. And if someone is listening here now, and this is their story, or they're catching the replay, they're already wired this way, or they wouldn't be reaching.
I know. I was thinking about that. It's not, so in one way, we're almost preaching to the choir. We're
Yes.
preaching to people who are looking for solutions and
Yes.
alternatives. And I think of when you were talking about what you did, how you reinvented your tradition to incorporate and be even more inclusive for your
Yes.
granddaughters. And I thought of my friend in Canada who is now 98, she'll be 98 in January. She's outlived everyone. So even her friends have passed on.
Yes.
So she made new friends.
Mm,
Her friends are all 20 or 30 years younger than she is.
I love that.
So when I said, and she lives all alone. So I talked to her this morning and I said, so what are you doing today? Now she's 98. She says to me, well, I'm setting the table because at 11, Amos, his daughter, and his family are coming for tea. You know how I do that now every Christmas. They come for tea. And she said, and then this afternoon, 2 other friends who are also alone, they're coming for dinner. So she didn't stay home alone thinking, I'm old and I have no one. And so my tradition doesn't work anymore. She still puts up a tree. And she created new traditions. So
Yeah.
perhaps for the people who are feeling disconnected, if there's a golden nugget here, it's you can stay focused there in the dark night of the soul. Nothing's working. My life's falling apart. I have nobody, the story.
Yes.
Or you can say, what can I do
Yes.
to create a meaningful experience for me this time of
Yes.
year? And
Yes.
maybe it would be focusing on others, like
Yes.
serving at a soup kitchen, going to whatever,
Absolutely.
walking puppies, fostering
It's totally
dogs.
the best medicine. It
Yeah.
is the best medicine is to turn your attention to others and serve others. It just is. It's totally the medicine.
Well, it's for me, that when we were talking earlier before we got started, it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
That when you realize that no matter how profound and deep and sad your experience feels, your experience of life feels, that experience feels unique to you, but it's not unique to you.
Mm.
It's a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Shared by probably millions of people. So
yes.
If you find yourself feeling that way, it's so easy to just kind of surrender to that feeling
Mm-hmm.
and let it overwhelm you.
Yes.
But you were mentioning earlier about the power of taking action. And so no matter how little the action is,
yes,
no matter if it's, I'm going to go buy some bird seed and go out and feed birds. That's going to be
yes,
part of my new Christmas routine. Whatever
Yes.
it is,
yes.
it's that thing about creating ritual for yourself.
I remember I was working with someone, this goes back about 10 or 15 years now, And she was just like, I'm not doing Christmas. I said, well, here's the thing. The best rehab for your life is to buy a wreath for your front door. Just go buy a wreath and hang that wreath through the door that you enter through. And she kind of poo-pooed it, but she did it. And the next thing you knew, she didn't get her tree up right away. But
that's thunder.
Oh, that's thunder that they're barking at?
Yeah. I don't know if you could hear. We had thunder and lightning. I could see it. It's very rare here.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
They're in guard dog mode.
Yeah.
That thunder better stay out.
I'm sure it's really paying attention to them.
But yes, it's amazing that just an action, and of course it doesn't have to be a wreath. Like, honestly, for me, it would be writing out. Like, I would write out, like, what are some ideas of next year? Next year, what do I want it to look like? And you work your way to it. Because the biggest thing to remember is traditions they take time to develop, but they take consistent steps. You can add to them, you can weed out, but you have to just take another step.
Yes. You're really inspiring me. I had very strong traditions that I did every Christmas. And then I made a conscious choice. What would it look like if I didn't do any of them? Mm-hmm. And I didn't. Mm-hmm. And so for several years, I did none. Mm-hmm. No Christmas decorations, and the tree was always my thing. I love. And so as we're talking, I realize my parents are gone. My former husband's gone. Many of my dear friends are gone. I think it's time to create a new experience of Christmas. So that's what I'm going to do.
And your friend who's 95 or 98 or 107 or whatever she is, that is a great example.
Yes. And so I hadn't really gotten there by myself, but our conversation and your sharings really, I can feel, you know how you get that little spark of,
oh yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do.
The light, somebody turned the light on.
Yep.
No, I get it.
I'm going to write myself a list, and I'm going to put it on the month of December of my new calendar for next year.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about traditions is, like I was saying, our Thanksgiving and our Christmas tend to be our biggest traditions. We also have an Easter tradition, and I do Easter brunch, and we have eggs outside. The eggs used to have jelly beans in them, like I hide the eggs and the kids come and get them. Yep. Oh, now they have money in them, sometimes a 20. Really?
My hard-boiled eggs.
My grandkids, no, plastic eggs. But my grandkids are like, they're young adults, but they show up. They look forward to it, because I think tradition is part of the glue of a family.
Yes.
It's the connection. It's one of the connectors. It's a big one.
And, when your family goes, or when it changes its form,
yes,
which it can do through divorce or death,
yes,
then it's a great opportunity to revisit and say, how can I make this work for me now?
Absolutely. Because, the strategy can change, but the principle is the same.
The question remains the same.
The question remains the same. How can I make this? That's a big nugget. If you're listening to this, because I didn't know we were going here. I thought you were going to be doing the talking. But seriously, there's real nuggets there that are,
There are real nuggets. And I love this, because it isn't me talking. We're truly having a conversation.
It's nice.
Which each of us is opening windows for the other one to say, oh, I really am loving this.
I want to say too that magic is a big component of a happy life.
Yes.
The
I,
making, the making of magic, not just for yourself, but for others, I find is an incredible, it's a great community builder. It's a
uh-huh.
great team builder. It's a great family builder. It's a great spousal relationship builder. It's yeah, it's the now. It's the now. It's like
How would you define magic?
magic. Magic is when something feels when there's a serendipitous moment or a set of serendipitous moments that emerge from a series of actions taken.
Well, I'm thinking about like a magician, a magic show.
Well,
So what makes it magic? We can talk about it being a trick, but it's really about having an expectation of how it's going to be and having this element of surprise.
yes, something that exceeds. That's the serendipitous thing. There's something that
Unexpected.
exceeds. Yeah, and so that's why like this is so funny. I don't even think I should talk about this.
Oh, why not?
Oh my goodness. Well, my little 2-year-old grandson threw dice.
Uh-huh.
My grandkids years ago at the studio we had a Christmas party, and the twins had to be like 6 or 7 years old, and their brother was probably 8,
Mhm.
and I hired them to be my servers, so we made them little outfits and they
Oh,
went
how
around and right.
wonderful.
But one of the guys was he was an Italian, from the city, from Chicago, and he was a great patron of the studio, and he said, let's play some games. We could play poker. And he said something about craps. I said, well, that's interesting. What the heck is that? Because I had never seen it before. Now, this is a story that's so funny. My young grandson, they went from being waitresses and servers, and are you with me? The
Uh-huh.
next thing I know, were giving them tip money so that they could climb up on the counter and play. And my little grandson ran that. He ran that. He caught on really, really fast. He was good at math. He caught on really
Uh-huh.
fast. So anyhow, at Thanksgiving, the girls were revisiting that. They were talking about that. Do you remember when? Do you remember? He said,
Wow.
we should do that again. We should do that again. And I'm like, well, can we do it at Christmas here? And I said, sure. Actually, I did not remember that we were supposed to do that. Right. So when they come, all of the grandkids came with dollars, and
They were
they were
ready to
like, we're gonna,
play.
yeah, we're gonna play. And I'm like, okay, well, we figured out how to put a bookshelf on the once we were done eating, and we had the felt. I'm telling you, it was really funny because
How
they were having the little guy who was 2 throw the dice, throw the dice, throw the dice, and so like that's a great example, even though it's kind of out there.
yeah,
It is
no,
a great, I mean, because they made a memory there,
they did.
and they got
Not
to
only that, they participated in
in the
making.
in the creation of it
Yeah,
in the creation of it. So who was I to get in their way? And
not
we ended up having a really, really good time. We have some pretty funny video that will live in infamy for that little guy as he stands on the dining room table throwing the dice into this. Yes, it's
oh, I think
so
it's great.
so you mean, and so that's the thing. What I have learned is that sometimes you have to allow the creative energy to emerge, and you can't be too strict
Well,
in
and
these.
sometimes it doesn't come from you. It's not, well, you were
No,
saying earlier, it's not about you.
no,
Sometimes creating that magic, creating that moment of surprise, it
yeah,
doesn't have to come from you.
yeah.
You
They
know,
they had a blast. They
them.
had they
Yeah.
had a blast. They had a great time. So did I. You know how I had a great time? Because they were having a great time. I just had
Well,
the
and
best
you,
time.
instead of being the creator of the experience, you facilitated an experience
Yes,
that they could envision and it
yes,
required your support.
yes.
You know,
Yes.
what a great transition, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to do that every Christmas Eve. I'm not sure I'm not sure Grandpa Santa was quite as on board as Mrs. Claus was, but
oh well, you've got a whole year to convince him.
yeah, but he went with it. But yeah, it was very unconventional, and but it was
great.
it was very inspiring. It was very creative, and we made a memory. You know, years ago, I heard John Maxwell speak. John, you're into leadership, and John Maxwell is a very well-known leadership author. And I was at an event, and I've seen him speak a few times, but this one particular event, he had just started to become a grandparent for the first time. So he had, I remember he had like a granddaughter and a grandson that were maybe like 3 years old, 2 years old, 4 years old, like right in that range.
Experience.
And but what is because of what he said and what he taught, I've always kept it a new experience. Because he said what he does is his intention is to make a memory every single time that they're around. So it doesn't have to be a big memory. It doesn't have to be Walt Disney World, right?
Yeah.
It could just be, hey, come on.
It doesn't have to be you've got the biggest, tiniest present.
No, it could be let's walk down to the corner and get an ice cream cone, or are you with me? It was just his perspective as a grandparent.
Right.
I wasn't yet a grandparent, and it framed it. I was like, wow.
Couldn't we become the grandparent for ourselves? And
absolutely.
Maybe part of the richness of life is taking ownership that it's your job.
Yes.
To make the memories. It's not about life's job to create them. Because you can make it from the smallest thing.
The smallest thing. It doesn't require a lot of money. It doesn't require a lot of time. It requires an intentionality. That's all it requires. It requires an intentionality of reinventing the now. And that's kind of interesting that you say that it isn't just about a grandparent or doing it for a child, or you can do it for a spouse. You can do it for your friend in Canada. You can do it for your dog. I do it. Are you kidding? I do that all the time for my dogs. Oh, they never know what's they don't. Sometimes I just start running through the house and they get all, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, I do. And again, this conversation is just like the light bulbs keep. So I never thought about creating memories for animals.
Oh, yes.
I mean, not consciously, doing it. So last night at this dinner where I had this fabulous food with my cousins, they have an aging Malamute. And they have a tradition with this dog where every Christmas they wrap up his existing toys. They don't buy him new ones.
I love this.
They wrap up his toys and they put them under the tree. And he can smell them, of course.
Yes.
But then he wants them.
Yes.
So here in this small home with this great big dog, they would take these presents out and they would say, you want it? And they would toss it in the air and he would grab these presents, put them on the floor and rip the paper off of them. And then he would take the paper and toss it in the air.
Oh my goodness. He
would run around. He did it with every single toy.
Oh,
it wasn't
my
like
goodness.
He ever got tired of it.
No.
And I was looking at this dog who looked all of his 11 years and more. And by the time he was finished, he looked like a puppy.
Yes, they created magic. That's just it. That's it. It's how can you bring the spirit of play into your life today? How can you bring it into your office? How can, like, the holiday cheer is really all it is magic and connection. It's that during the holidays we are intentionally looking at things from a connection and magic lens. What if we carried that? Like I do
every day.
I mean, that's what I can tell when I'm when I'm turning into the hamster on the hamster wheel, because those of us who
Oh,
are
yeah.
really driven, you know, that is a danger, right? But
I've been there.
yeah, and I'll be like, Jeannie, come on, you know, let's
Yeah.
you have to do something. You just, I don't know, and it's not always the same, you know. Sometimes it's something that surprises Denny, surprises my husband, and sometimes it's something that surprises just calling up my grandson and saying, hey, when can we go to dinner this week? Or do you know what I mean? It's just, it requires intention, and that's it. That bringing magic, the spirit of the holidays is that. And so if you are in a point where you're like when I would feel melancholy at it, when I what I was doing was I was looking at what I didn't have
Yes.
instead of realizing that within my hands, within my control, truly I could have or create anything. I just needed to know what it was I wanted to create.
Isn't that funny? That melancholy, it really does arise from that place of looking at what isn't.
Yes.
I don't have resources.
The
I don't
shortage
have
line.
a family. I don't have, my friend is gone. I'm, you know what, it's what isn't.
Yeah. You
And
know, this event has been just amazing because there have been so many voices where the stories are such that there is no way that you would reach in that hat and take that as your own. You would keep you've ever heard that, like, you know, put your problems in a hat and pass
no,
it. Have you ever heard that? Oh
no,
yeah. Like, you know, well, I'll tell you what, you know, someone's feeling like, you know, oh, well, this is happening to me, this happened to me. I'll tell you what, let's all put our problems in a hat. You draw one out, right? And chances are you want yours back. And
it's
and
not
and
funny. What a
that's what some of these, you know, and yet they shine. They shine like the light of love, like they chose light. They chose light is a choice. We
yeah.
choose light. And I'll tell you what, the shadow gives us, it gives us the chance to reflect. But if we stay there too long, we'll start to stink. Really. We will, because we are designed to move to the light.
I think when you stay there too long, you forget
Yeah.
that the other is possible. And it's really, I often think of it as it's one breath away.
Mm.
With my next breath, I can change this.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a different choice.
Yes.
And sometimes and I'm speaking for myself, sometimes when I would stay in a melancholic state for too long, I would forget
Yes.
that I could make a different choice. And I would see this kind of feeling of hopelessness, of no way out. And I would forget.
I think what happens is we forget who we really are.
Yes.
That's
Well,
what we forget.
we define ourselves by the moment we're in instead of by defining ourselves by the next choice we make.
I'm going to stand by, I think we forget who we really are. We are divinity. We are divine. We are light. We are light. And when you realize that, there's a responsibility then to bring light to others. And I really like, I mean, when I work with people, that is probably one of my biggest objectives, is for them to start to shine their own light on the inside so that then they can shine it for others, who can then shine it on the inside and shine it for others, because that's what real connection is about.
I think that's perfect.
So we've been on here an hour.
Oh,
These were supposed to be a half hour. If you all are on here, we can't see you, but if you are watching, we so hope you got something from this. Linda, what what would you say to wrap up? What would be the words that you would offer? What comes through you right now?
Anything is possible.
Mm.
Create the life you want with your next choice.
That's it. That's the wisdom. We'll be back in, I think, just an hour. We'll be back in an hour with Kylie Ryan out of Australia. And then in 3 hours, we'll be back with Yvonne Delafleur is going to close us out. And those both should be just stellar transmissions.
Amy, thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to say Merry Christmas,
Yes.
and we're going to sign off, everyone.
Okay.